Living in a cabin in the woods is kind of what a lot of people did in the 1960s, to kind of run away from the cities and think that they would have a happier, more ecological life, and perhaps some of them did, but they were isolated and didn't have an opportunity to expand public awareness about how to live more environmentally sensitive life. So here we have the front of our building, of our main building that we bought in 1996. Ooh, and I see that we also have a diesel truck standing there, giving us all of its glorious exhaust. Right now we're in a process with the city to try to close off our street, and so that'll be a public plaza someday soon, we hope. So come on over here, because I see there's someone working in their garden. I've lived here in LA from 1958. So there's a new raised bed garden going in over in this building. In 1980, I began envisioning something that eventually, before there was a word Ecovillage and before there was an expression sustainable community. Good morning. We began envisioning what would eventually become an Ecovillage. Right now she's preparing this new raised bed. Oh, Johnny, you'll certainly want to meet Johnny.
What made you live here as opposed to someplace else?
Living in a sustainable manner in any kind of setting, especially in an urban setting, is difficult to do. But when you do it with a group that has the same focus and mission, it makes living in that way easier and it's more fun. For example, most of us ride bikes to get around, so socially when we make plans, we all are tending to make plans to get there by bicycle.
We have a dedicated bike storage room in the 117.
But you're in a different building.
We're in a different building, so we park it wherever we can. But, you know, they're our main form of transport, so we put it in the house.
The way in which we think about making an urban eco-village, we have to ask ourselves the questions: what are the problems with your life support systems in your neighborhood, with your air, soil, and water? And for us, in the beginning, it was discovering that children in our neighborhood had 20% less lung capacity than children in cleaner neighborhoods. And so what could we do? We could stop driving. So this space that I'm about to show you is our bicycle parking. And sometimes people who love bikes are not different than people who love cars, in that one is never enough. So we did, those of us that were here in the very beginning. And of course then eventually this became the center of emerging bicycle culture in Los Angeles. Now, shortly after we started the bicycle parking, Jimmy Lizano moved here, and he was a bicycle messenger downtown. And so he told the whole community, hey, anyone that wants to learn how to fix your bike, come on down to the bike room kitchen on Tuesday nights, and I'll teach you how to fix your bike. And pretty soon he was telling all his friends downtown and all his bicycle friends from throughout the city. And so pretty soon, bicycle kitchens have spread throughout the entire country for self-help bicycle repairs. This emerged out of the membership here by demonstrating that we don't drive cars anymore in the mid-90s, and bicycles were the way to go, and people thought we were really crazy. This became our natural food co-op. So it's what we call our bulk room. So anyone can join the food co-op, not just people who live here, but neighbors and other people that live close by. And it's just like a little mini natural food store. And so everything's organic. And people actually put a deposit into what we call the food lobby, because where do you think it started? In the lobby of our building. And it started just as a produce co-op, where we had made arrangements with one of the farmers at one of the local farmers markets, who would deliver boxes of produce every Sunday afternoon. And then for like $10, you could get a box of organic produce like this wide and this long and this wide and this high, and it's a pretty good bargain. And then eventually people wanted to buy bulk foods too, so we extended the co-op to include bulk foods. And And this is what came of it. So that's all right here. We always knew we were going to have to buy property, so we didn't know when or how. And this is our lobby, and of course this space is not just a lobby, but it functions in a lot of different ways. People meet here, and we have workshops here, we have dinners here. Here we have a take a book, leave a book. We have someone that arranges for all of our electronic junk to be picked up. This building was for sale, it was in foreclosure. It was half vacant. Incidentally, this whiteboard right here is where we give messages to our handy person about what kinds of little maintenance and repair jobs need to be done. The building was in terrible slum-like conditions. Come on out here and see what's going on with the kids. And the owners thought we were crazy. We never got any bank loans. We had some of our own, I think we had about $20,000 of our own money. It was like a savings that, like organizations save for, rainy days, just like families do. And we just used that to leverage $500,000 cash and paid cash. So this table, this deck is made out of recycled plastic. And these stairs, these tiles were found in a local garage sale. Oh, good. Come on in. Okay, guys. This is where Lara lives, and this is typical. This is what's known as a single, so it's like about 435 square feet. The main room doubles as a living room and a bedroom. So, for example, this is a sofa bed that comes out at night and goes in during the day. We had a lot of Murphy beds. All of the units had Murphy beds. Eventually we took them all out, and people made closets out of these spaces and or little mini offices or mini bedrooms. Every unit has its self-contained kitchen and its own bathroom. Now this unit of about 430 square feet actually rents for $550 a month. And that's a third to a half lower than the market rates in this neighborhood, which mostly start for a unit like this about $850 or $900. And without all the amenities of living in a supportive, intentional community. I also might add that these French doors were cut into this unit. It was a window like that, and we wanted to make a whole lot more of the units have doors onto the courtyard. So let's go out through the hall, and you may not. We do have housekeeping issues, and you will get a glimpse of them as we go down here. We had one of the big nonprofit technical assistance providers for housing development help us out on crunching our numbers. And they were always trying to get us to borrow so much money. This is a worm compost, but I don't think anyone's composting in it right now. Carol planted potatoes in here in this compost, and here's some compost piles. Now, I'll point out that on both sides of the sidewalk where we're walking, both sides have been pit composted over and over again over the past 5 years. So this is all very, very rich in nutrient soil. I thought, we borrow that kind of money, we're going to be in a terrible psychological, we're going to be forced to rent up all those vacant units as quickly as we can to pay that debt service. Another compost pile here. This is our solar dryer, also known as a clothesline. We don't want to be rushed about who we're going to rent to because we have membership criteria. So this is another kind of living area that we have. So in the summertime, we eat out here. We usually have community dinner out here every Sunday night, and generally 15 to 30 people, depending on what's going on. We figured that, like other nonprofit housing developers, we would just jigsaw puzzle the funding together. A little foundation money, a little city money, a little community development bank money. This is a little children's play area. We have chickens. The more I looked into all that, the more none of that money was a fit for us. Hey, who wants to come? It all had conditions that were not the kinds of things that I envisioned for the Ecovillage. There you go. So we just keep raising money. What do you say? Hello? Yes. We used to have roosters too, but they weren't such a big hit in the courtyard at 4 o'clock in the morning. So now we just have hens. So we just decided we just kept raising the money from our friends and relatives, and finally we had enough money to buy it and pay cash. So we actually owned this building, and we owned this building too. We bought that building in 1999, and then in 2011 we bought this fourplex here. This was one of the very first trees. We planted over 100 fruit and nut trees in the neighborhood, and this is a macadamia tree now, pretty mature at this point. We have, in our 2 blocks, we have 3 auto repair shops. Rather weird for an eco-village, but they're there, and they were there before we were. It's one neighborhood, but we have many different names for it. Of course, the most local name for it is the Los Angeles Ecovillage, and that is a 2-block neighborhood that goes from First Street on the north, where you see that beige wall, and that's a middle school where there's about 2,000 kids that go to school every day, to the south end, which is Vaughn's Supermarket, and that's 2nd Street. This building went up in 1965, and that was a gambling newspaper. And what it brought to our neighborhood was, of course, gambling #1, and prostitution, drugs, gangs. And certainly by the time I moved on the block in 1980, it was a pretty scary neighborhood in a variety of ways. So we're passing right by now the Breezy Community Center. This wonderful park is something we helped them achieve. This used to be an extension of 2nd Street right here. Now you note that 2nd Street comes down on a downward angle. So if you look right here, you'll see this big storm drain here, where all that storm water and also all the polluted water from car washing and grass watering and so forth all comes down here. So this is what was decided, that we would have this stream bed here that winds around for about 500 feet and then has a storm drain that goes out the other end. And the stream bed is layered permaculture style in sand and gravel, so when the water comes in, it mostly sinks down. If there's a very heavy storm, it's going to go out the storm drain at the other end, but in a more cleaned condition as it travels through all these grasses. Oh, Hortensia, how are you?
Nice to see.
Our local neighborhoods makes the jobs and the public transit so accessible to people of lower income. So we don't want to displace all of these people to have to move out to the suburbs. Oh, hi, Paul.
Yes,
I got it right. He's one of our new neighbors, and he works at the supermarket here. How are you?
I'm good, good.
Hey,
taking a lunch break.
Yeah, I hope you guys will come to lunch, to dinner very soon.
Oh,
we have
yeah,
every
definitely.
Sunday night we have dinner, and you and Alex would be very, very welcome.
We've already spoken.
If you have the proper economic components in place, you can prevent the displacement of lower income people. In our case, we have both a community land trust, which forever and always maintains the affordability of properties that we own. These stairs here are made out of recycled tires. And we have a limited equity housing cooperative. It restricts the rate at which shares in the co-op can be bought or sold. So this is the room where we have our community meetings every Monday evening. And during the winter anyway, we have our community dinners. And here's George using the community kitchen because apparently your stove is not working.
I'm leaking gas.
Oh, so it's turned off completely?
Yes.
Is there a repair order in on it? Or?
Yes, there
Oh,
is.
that's good.
We're an intentional community, so we're not optimizing our own personal living space as much. But we have a 3rd person in this house, we have a little one. So we're trying to optimize use of our large 1-bedroom And this is what we have. We have our living room, so our kid space. And this is where we have our piano instead of a big flat screen television. This is our dining room, as well as kind of project room, I would say. These are larger one bedrooms, so they're about $875 that we're paying now. So market price for this unit is about $1,600. So it's literally double that. The bathroom with I moved into a single. I proposed to Risha. She moved in, and we got a larger unit. The kitchen and the mudroom. So single to a double, and then now here we are in one of the larger one bedrooms because we have a third. And so that's possible because unlike a condo, we don't own the actual condo, we own shares. So it gives us the flexibility to be able to move around because now, for example, we just bought another building across the street. Those are 2 bedrooms. And so if we have a second, child, potentially that would be something where we would want to move to. This kind of scenario is that with the limited equity or with the base prices of houses never really going up more than a certain percentage above area median income, or there's a certain range that it will hold on to. And that's governed not only by the co-op, but that's governed also by the community land trust that owns the land. So it's something that's strong. It's not something that someone can just come in here and flip a unit and then screw it up for everybody else. It's a neat setup to be on a community land trust land. So that's something that is something for. Hello.
Daddy's here. Daddy's here.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry, you guys are in the middle of an interview. It's a good thing there's a pause button.
Hello.
Hey.
People work so much, and then they come home, they're stressed out, and they don't have that social time that our parents really did. You don't hear about people playing bridge.
Let me open the door some, or do you want
That's not an activity that people think of. They think about crashing on the couch and making a couch potato in front of the television, more often than not.
Is this your bike? No.
Yep.
Here you can just go outside and be social.
This was her first time in a trailer.
Did she like it?
No, she did not
Well,
like it.
she liked it and she didn't like it.
Did she like it about as much as she likes a stroller?
Yes.
So
She
that's
likes
Okay.
it as much as she likes the stroller.
That's a
She's
good
in it for like
comparison.
half
You
the
can have
time.
things like time banks. You can have things like multiple families with kids around so that you don't have to pay for as much babysitting.
Being here at the community, it's an added bonus because there are community members to help out. So in terms of babysitting and stuff, that's been really great. We can count on some, one or two people who need extra cash as well. So it's a really nice trade.
So this is what's known as the South Garden. These are gourds growing up from the ground into the tree. And these are 2 fabulous guava or feolla trees that give us an incredible crop each year. I would say during the time they're in season for 3 or 4 months, I'm picking up 50 to 75 of them a day. And we just eat them, we give them away, we make jams and jellies and ice cream and whatever. This is an old growth apricot tree. It gives the sweetest, most wonderful apricots. So this is an area when we bought this second building in 1996 for $315,000, and incidentally, no bank loans. This was a junk collecting area. There was a fence here, a chain link fence, barbed wire, and just lots of junk being collected. So the folks that lived across the way from each other wanted to have an easy way to get in and out of one another's place. So they put a door in this building they obviously took the fence down, cleared out all the junk, and then put a door in there, invited all their friends and neighbors to come and have an art party, and began making all this art on the buildings. We call this Avocado Alley because these 2 old growth trees are avocado trees, and they just produce an enormous number of avocados. Here's a good example. So this also is a worm compost here. It's important to be building soil all the time. So we compost in many, many different ways. Compost piles, compost pits, worm compost. We used to have drums and barrels of compost. This is a new experiment, above ground composting here in the courtyard. When we bought this building, the entire courtyard was all grass, and after a few years we started our permacultural approach to gardening. We laid cardboard over the entire courtyard, and then we had tons and tons of mulch brought onto the street. We would just intercept trucks on the street that were city trucks, school trucks, private pruners. So what you're standing on right now is a foot of mulch that's turning back into soil. We had a number of very invasive plants, and so we decided to lay cardboard down here again, and we brought in these straw bales, and then people started planting these seedlings in them. So I expect we'll have a lot more stuff growing in there soon. We have about a dozen greywater systems using the water from sinks and laundry machines. We have one greywater system coming out of that unit up there along that white pipe, and then it comes down and it goes under the pathway here and along the base of the building, and there's this black flex hose. Oh, here's a caution, flexible pipe below, and it goes all the way into the garden and waters the guava plants and some berry plants along the fence. We have quite a few activities going on here in the garages. So this is our community tool shop. This is probably one of the best maintained places. All of these tools have been donated, and if the group that runs the tool shop that lives here want to get a tool that they don't have, they take up a collection and they buy it. And there are only 2 rules for being able to be a member of the tool shop if you live here. One is put everything back where you found it or where it belongs, and the second rule is no blood on the tools. So far it's worked out very well. You know, I mean, look at this. All of these different size screwdrivers. So people make all kinds of things here. They fix things, they invent things, they make new things. Someone out here was making a table yesterday, and people have made jewelry out here. What my fantasy is that someone will make something that they get a patent on, that they'll make millions of dollars on, and we'll buy up the rest of the neighborhood. Oh, and then this is another rule that we have for all of our spaces. Follow the policy to the letter and leave our spaces as you found them or better. Do all within your powers to make this happen in 24 hours. Easier said than done. Now, another one of our garages, one of our members, Jimmy Lizama, he designs and builds and repairs bikes. In this unit also we have a sewing studio. In this garage unit, this is the art studio. So Ayan, she's an artist. She holds interactive art activities here in the studio, and she envisions someday of doing art exhibits out here in this space. It's currently paved, but someday some of us feel little by little we've been unpaving it, and someday we expect the whole thing will be unpaved. When we bought this building, people had a lot of stuff in these garages. So little by little, we got them kind of cleared out to be able to use them for these community spaces. One of our members started a organic fair trade coffee business. He was actually roasting coffee in one of the garages. And then as his business began to take off, found other spaces. He now has, I think, 5 coffee shops throughout the LA area, throughout the greater LA area. On his way to national franchise, no doubt. This fence, we call the art fence, and it's been in the process of development for many, many years now. So a lot of our residents learned how to weld, making this fence out of old bicycle parts. There were about 4 cars from our long-term renters who were here when we built this building, who were parking their cars in there. And eventually, little by little, we got them out of there, so now they park here on the side of the building. Now, where we are right here, in what most people call an alleyway, I like to call the promenade. You can imagine, can you not, that someday this will be unpaved and just mulched, that there will be no cars, that there will be wonderful banners here and there, that there will be fruit and nut trees growing with benches and tables built around them, all mosaicked by the children who live in the neighborhood and go to school in the local schools. And that, for example, and then there will be kiosks, small kiosk businesses owned by people who live in the neighborhood. Now this is an easement. It's owned half by one of our organizations and half by the strip mall next door here. And so it's a matter of helping the strip mall solve what they might perceive as a problem, but what we may perceive as actually generating more business for their stores by making this a very wonderful, beautiful pedestrian pathway rather than just an extra parking lot for cars. What you see directly across the street is the fourplex with the garages that we purchased in the January of 2011. And that garage is going to be a place where Jimmy Lizama, who does the bike shop, is going to have a small manufacturing business for a bicycle part. And of course, because we're talking, as I said earlier, about closing the street off, so we'd be closing it off from the driveway to the stop sign. And again, that could expand the kiosks, that small green business kiosks. And then when that happens, hopefully we will figure out a way to help people that are parking there have another kind of parking space or get rid of their cars more, hopefully. So this is a natural building bench made out of cob, made out of earth and mud and straw and these old recycled tiles here. And I certainly envision doing a lot more of these kinds of things on our two-block neighborhood. This over here is what's referred to as a rainwater harvesting garden. And it doesn't look great right now, but the urbanite, that is the broken concrete, is arranged such that what was just a hill where the water would come down in a big rain, now it sinks back into the earth and is replenishing then our water table. Let's see who we have over here. I think it's the garden tour. Here in the city, we have incredible opportunity to expand public awareness.
George, do you know what this is? Is it an olive tree?
We refer to everything that we do here as a demonstration project. Let me point out here that the sidewalk is a permeable pavement, and it was the first demonstration of permeable pavement in the city. So if I actually spill water on this sidewalk, you'll see it percolate down. When we did this project with the city a few years ago, called the Shared Street, it called for bulb outs. So before that, our sidewalks were only 4 feet wide, and it was pretty hard to even have people coming in 2 different directions cross each other without stepping out of the way, particularly if they had baby carriages. And so our sidewalks were widened from 4 feet to 8 feet, and we got the permeable pavement, as I mentioned. And then we got these bulb outs. So if you walk up the block, our block is about 1,000 feet long from 1st Street to 2nd Street. And if you walk up it, you'll see about 3 of these large bulb outs, which are really about narrowing the street and widening the sidewalk. This here is a fig tree, and there is a law in Los Angeles that any fruit trees where are growing on private property but overlap onto public property, which the sidewalk is, then the food that comes onto the public property is free and accessible, and no one would be considered trespassing if they eat the fruit. This is a sapote tree. We purposely planted some of our trees so they'd overlap, so people would feel okay about taking the fruit. We got these macadamia trees. We put in a lot of artichokes, and artichokes keep coming back each year. And we have a very, very healthy rosemary plant here, and some flowers, and some wild things normally called weeds. But actually, this stuff is quite edible. And it's dark green, so it's pretty good. Dandelions, that's all good stuff. I know that we've influenced the city. Many of our members have influenced the city in any variety of ways. I get notes from people that have been on tours that tell me, stories like, oh, I never thought that I could actually get rid of my car, but I have, and I'm so much happier. Look at these great collard greens. I let you take them from the back. Or I didn't think I could garden in such a small space, but now I have this fabulous little garden. It's only 6 feet wide by 10 feet long, but you should see how many vegetables I'm growing here, and things like that. And artichokes, as you can see here. And look at all these. Yum, yum. Oh, I forgot. This is not I do not steward this garden. Usually when someone else stewards the garden, you should get their permission before taking their food. Right behind you, we have the new apple blossoms on this tree. We have about a half a dozen apple trees. So I think that we really have a tremendous opportunity and a tremendous responsibility to be sharing everything that we are learning ourselves over these past 20 years. So this plant looks pretty happy too, so I'll take some of these. Okay, yay.